Good afternoon, everybody. I regret that I can't be here personally, but not just for the moment, but for the opportunity to renew old friendships and memories of my time here at N.M.M.I. But at least this is a day in which we're going to pay tribute to a really fine man who had far more influence on the N.M.M.I and the Corps cadets than will ever be fully recognized. Beneficial influence to the Institute and to its alumni and its many friends because of the nature of his role. So, Vern, I'm going to tell stories on you today, and for once you're not here to tell your counter stories on me, at least not for now. This chapel itself is symbolic of Vern's role in the reemergence of N.M.M.I from very dark days. Those were some of the more difficult days in the modern history of the Institute. And I need to paint a little background. Now understand, Vern had nothing to do with the construction of the chapel. That credit goes to the regents themselves, far-sighted alumni, donors, and led by Babe Godfrey from the class of 1924. But Vern's presence coincided with the building of this chapel and the emergence of N.M.M.I from rather dark times. I didn't realize how dark they were until I came on scene. In 1972, a little background is that the Board of Regents under Homer Glover invited me to come to N.M.M.I and take the helm from well-beloved Colonel Buck Wiles, who was the acting superintendent, former PMS, in, as I said, very difficult times. I didn't really appreciate that situation until I got on scene. And one of the things I did early on was to go quickly to Santa Fe to assess the financial situation in the state-supported school. I was warmly received by the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, who during the conversation at the Pink Adobe or someplace said, "Sir, I welcome you here, but you need to know that I have a draft on my desk, a draft bill to change the Institute to a community college." And I said, "Why?" And he gave me some good reasons, but mostly because of the financial situation. The Institute had been running well below 50% enrollment for a number of years. The cost per cadet was triple that of the cost of students at other state-supported institutions. So then I said, "Well, why don't you just put that on the back corner of your desk for now," and came back to the to N.M.M.I and continued my acquaintance with everybody. And of course, I talked soon with the chairman of the faculty senate. I think it was Adrian Martinez. And Adrian said, "Sir, we have a very restive faculty, and they want me to take the leadership in forming a faculty union." So that situation was there, and then I learned that the funds for this future chapel have been placed in escrow, awaiting clarification of N.M.M.I's future. But the Institute's long-standing great reputation was still in place. There was still a solid faculty. There were some key staff members raring to go, so this was a matter of adjustment. And in short order, we, a year and a half or so, had changed the leadership, new dean, new commandant, new admissions office personnel and direction, that sort of thing. And within about a year and a half, we began to see some positive results of that. But there was still, for me and my advisors, a key concern that the spirit of the Corps had not really fully returned to what we wanted. There was an unevenness in the attitudes. There were too many cadets who had been sent there, probably against their will. There were just problems throughout the Corps. Now, many of them were very good leaders, and some I'm sure in the audience today. But that was the difficult situation. So how to solve that? I knew right away what I needed was a spiritual leader who not only could bring the religious functions to the Institute, but a man who could be the counselor and advisor on a personal basis with the cadets in their problems and have easy rapport with the Corps cadets. Voila, Vernon Edmondson came out of the applications, incidentally nudged by his son, and I knew immediately Vern fit the bill. His warmth, his depth, his faith, everything about him was just right. And so he soon became exactly what I knew he would become, a grand spiritual religious leader, but a great mentor to the Corps cadets. And he also became a personal friend of mine and part of the Kemble family. Wife Helen used to love to call him the Kemble bigamist later on because he married two of my daughters. I can still, in my mind's eye, see Vern standing in a makeshift altar in the big living room of the suits quarters, at the alcove there, defined by two pews that had been stored waiting for the construction of the chapel. And not only did we have the new leader, the funds were released for the construction of the chapel. So this wonderful coincidence of timing, we had the emergence of a new chapel and the presence of a great, strong leader. You'll be missed on many, many grounds, Vern. Your achievements will go quietly with you because of the nature of your role. You have been a wonderful addition to the group that brought the emergence of the Institute from rather dark times. And appropriately, we are going to honor you with this marker today that will proclaim that influence on this signal year, the 125th year of N.M.M.I. I'm glad I've been able to be a part of the role. God bless all.
What you had for your breakfast today, or something? I just want to hear you just speak.
Okay, you want to hear me talk? I just take that. Yeah, it's a beautiful day outside, isn't it?
It is.
I think it is too. I'm grateful for being requested to say a few words at Vernon Edmondson's dedication ceremony. In 1973, you may be able to call us rats together, because that was our first year at the Institute, he as the chaplain and me as the commandant of cadets. They say that if every organization as a family needs a father and a mother. In our case, I was a disciplinarian, I was the father. And Vern always had a soft shoulder for the wounded cadets to rest on. Being a chaplain of the Military Institute consists of a little bit more than giving services on Sunday mornings. In Vern's case, his job required him to be a counselor of cadets when they got into trouble on moral issues and on religious matters. He also conducted academic classes on world religions to the junior college part of the Corps cadets. He is a performing ambassador of goodwill with parents and other citizens of the area. And he conducted religious services of all types, including Sunday services, funerals, and marriages. I believe his favorite activity was to perform weddings of graduating cadets and of alumni members. Of course, his less favorite was conducting funerals And I knew of one case where he traveled over 1,000 miles to perform the funeral services of a former member of the Corps of Cadets. After 15 years at the Institute, he retired. And retirement, as in most cases, it involved two things, especially today. More people are working during retirement years. And so did Vern. He with his very unique, capable ability, he was able to find positions in many churches in Roswell and also in Ruidoso. He worked at some of these churches as little as a month and sometimes over a year. It depended on the needs of the church and what his desires was. One thing that he bragged about being able to do was to select his own job because he didn't want anything to really interfere with the comforts of retirement. As for the play part of his life or retirement, he and his wife did an awful lot of traveling. Both of us had Airstream trailers, and we did an extensive amount of traveling through Canada and Alaska in the northern part of the United States. I recall at one time we were planning on going to eastern Canada, and we noticed that there was a Airstream caravan being run at the same time as we planned to go there. So we both joined that caravan for a 6 weeks tour of east and northern Canada. During the duration of this caravan, Vern volunteered to be the caravan chaplain, and as such he attended to the religious needs of the caravanners and gave sermons every Sunday during the 6 weeks of her tour. An interesting event occurred in Western Canada. We were traveling alone at that time in two trailers, each having a trailer, and we decided to park for the night in a wooded campsite. So we pulled our trailers in, parked them, set up camp, and then Vern and I decided to take a walk through the camp. When we reached the extreme end of the camp, turned a corner, we were confronted by a big black bear. He didn't look too friendly. I turned to Vern and I said, "You're the religious fella, say a prayer." He said, "I already have, amen." And at that, the bear very courteously turned around and walked away. During our time at the Institute, we became very close friends. And over the years, that friendship grew and grew to a point of about 42 years, we became best friends. That summarizes what I had to say. I just want to leave you with a salute to Vern for being a military veteran, for being an outstanding chaplain, and for being a very best friend. I think he epitomized what a chaplain should be anywhere in this world, period.